This
580.
conference will now be recorded.
I think the 35-100.
Sweet.
So,
I have
and
the
I guess I
same
can say
laser
that.
that SpaceX has.
Yeah, I guess I can say that with it recording. So, SpaceX, and we don't do on-site, remote or any kind of thing like that. It's all remote stuff. But maybe we could make an exception in this case if they needed some, just
Yeah,
to
I'll
go over
help you
there.
out, Brian, if you need an interpreter like Jim is doing for you now. So I'll help.
Right? That'd be cool. But anyway,
Yeah, you had me
so
worried there for a minute,
SpaceX,
Brian. I was
yeah,
seriously thinking you was having issues, and I was going to have to read everything you was typing.
no. So, yeah, here's that specialized training session. You can just go search in the site for specialized or training or sessions. Any of those words will bring up uh, like the typical 1 hour training scheduling, the remote training. It's in there too, so you can get to it. Um,
Okay, cool. And then do they work like Saturdays, Sundays, or only Monday through Friday?
well, you'll just have to check, see, because here's where you sign up. See, there'll be a you pick your day and pick your time. See, there's all kinds of times, all kinds of days. You just go pick what's available. So it's all automated, the scheduling system. So you just
Okay,
go,
and
you just make an appointment like going to, you know, uh, for anything else.
okay, yeah, no, I can't see, but
That's what
it's
I was going
Okay.
to
okay.
say. I was going to say that's
Well,
the reason why he's
it's on the
asking.
site. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Sam, you can
there's
actually
there's a place to sign up.
what he was clicking on actually puts a calendar up, and there is different days of the week and stuff that you.
Right,
This
that's what I'm
was like
saying.
on
But did
the
you see weekends like
Yeah,
Saturdays or Sundays?
well.
there looked like there was a
It,
Saturday in there.
well, see, that can change though. Today there might be a Saturday. Tomorrow there might not be, as different people schedule and fill up the times. Or maybe someone blocks off because they can't do it that weekend. Maybe Chris is going on a trip and he won't be around.
Right,
Maybe
I
he
get it.
doesn't normally do it on a Saturday and he might sign up for a Saturday. See what I mean? So
Right, okay.
there's not a finite answer for that. That's why you just use the online
If
scheduling
you're
thing.
super nice to
I'll
Chris,
look
I'm
it up.
sure that he will work with you and get you in.
Yeah, oh yeah. So definitely.
It's not like
So
you're dealing with. It's not like you'd be dealing with Tommy or something and making it really difficult.
let me let me go back to the where is it? I got away from my page. So today's topic is going to be the pass through. Not yeah, like doing something through the pass through, which ironically I've never actually done. I've gone through the motions, but I haven't like made something using the pass through before, ever. So I'm gonna let the Chris's or Chris or where is Loco? He must
He's
be
he's missing.
doing some stuff. So I don't see anybody new, so we can forget that section. Oh, guess what? Did y'all watch Alicia? Let me switch gears for a minute on that interview
Yeah,
or that podcast. Okay,
yeah.
they were talking about a glossary. Well, my Laser God site had a heck of a glossary. Um, if I can find it, glossary, laser terms glossary. Am I still sharing?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's not ideal here because, you know, but we're going to start putting this thing together, and I have it in a Google sheet. They were talking about the jargon that a lot of people don't know what the jargon is. So I'm thinking about if someone maybe even wants to contribute, I'll make a form if somebody wants to add a definition. They can submit it to us, and we can review it and add it and do that kind of thing. So I'm trying to make a generalized and have other terminology in here too, not just the technical stuff, not just about the lasers, but the sales side or the preventative maintenance side or the material side, whatever. If you want to go in and have another definition that's more detailed about plywood and go into the different types and that kind of thing, it doesn't matter. I'd like to make a wiki, and people could go in and actually contribute just like you do on Wikipedia. But I think that's too much, too complicated. But I mean, if anybody, y'all think that's a good idea, just to
Uh,
have.
after, and you know me, I'm about as blunt as can be. After, if you allow anybody and everybody to contribute, you are going
Yeah,
to get some answers that are either A, completely wrong, or so, uh,
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, the
So
words
that,
aren't coming to me right now
yeah.
because it's recorded.
Yeah, so that's why I would have like a submission and like a form, and somebody could submit it, and then we'll review it, edit it, throw it out, whatever we choose to do with it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, you're right. Just leaving it wide open like a forum and having people add that would never work. it would
Yeah,
it would
so
be yeah. Go
I
ahead,
had that
Chris.
one this morning from another laser page where the lady's laser basically was lasering on traversal moves, and several of the users told her to go to the preview and turn off traversal moves, and it would stop lasering in between those points. And it's like, no, just because you turn the little red lines off doesn't make it stop. Your power supply is filled.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
firing 100% of the times.
Well,
So
you'll just have to turn it off so that it won't fire the red lines.
be real
So
quick on that
that's
laser switch, just
yeah.
flick it.
Hey,
So yeah.
I can't wait till y'all put the smoke sensor inside that, will turn the fan on and off with the amount of smoke.
Oh, an auto adjust fan. So it runs a
Yeah.
little bit if there's a little smoke and turns on all the way if there's a lot. That'd be neat. Now, see if we had that kind of telemetry, we could put all that back. I would like to have a controller that would show the telemetry and show the current, how many hours. I mean, all of that data, all being able to be transmitted back here, like Ferrari does. They can see a car in real time, what the timing is on it, and they can adjust it and do all that stuff. If we could do all that on the fly, that would be really cool. But Ruida isn't quite that capable.
The only thing that the Thunder Miss is missing that I'm kind of partial to is amp meter.
Yeah, well, it's in the back.
Well, I can't
I
exactly.
can't get to the back.
You don't
So-
need to. That's the thing. They're calibrated. You don't have to look at it. You don't have to watch it.
Right, but as you look at, you can do pulse test to see if your tube's starting to go.
I got you. Sure. So here, you need this then. I've got one. Let me see if I can find it. It's a remote meter, and you plug it in. You put a Cat5 cable on the back of your power supply. There's a place for an Ethernet cord. You plug that in, and there's a little $10 meter, and it looks just like the display on that digital, except it's in a little snap-in box. Yeah, and you can cut a hole or make a box for it out of wood or whatever. And I have one on my laser.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Where
That's cool.
I think it's in the portal somewhere, and it's like $10 on CloudRay. Actually, I'll look it up on CloudRay and see if I can find it.
And that's
I'll
one
make a
without
link to it and show it.
the adjustment knob, or don't have the trim knob on it, Brian.
Well, it'll have the trim knob, but it won't work on the 80-watt one. It's only
Yeah.
100 watt and up that the trim knob works on. But that's only if that little tiny switch is flipped. You remember, it disables that too.
Yeah.
Nobody knows that's a switch, and I don't think we
Well,
ought to tell anybody. We have an article on it.
There should be a switch even on our 80-watt machines, right?
There is,
Same
but I
power
think
supply.
it still doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100 watt. Yeah, that's right. So we were going to talk about the pass through. I know we kind of got on off a little bit, but I'll find this. Does somebody? I mean, who's used their pass through? Who's had trouble with it? Let's talk about it a little bit. And
Talking
I'll
about
find
all
this
the way
thing.
through, or just being able to take the front off of it.
Well, I mean, I guess all those aspects, the software aspect, the
I mean-
the workflow aspect, all of it, depending on.
I've used it when I had a piece of wood that was too large, and so I took the front panel off, put it in there to cut it, which works great. I just had some of it hanging out. And the only problem with that was you got to support what's hanging out of the machine, otherwise your wood will bow, obviously, right? Because you're creating
Right.
fulcrum.
She's
So
gonna put you. Here's what we use.
there you go, like a roller. Yep.
Legs that open. I have
Yep.
still these. I acquired them from him so that when I can take a full 4x8 sheet of plywood, take that front pass-through door off, slide it in, put these rollers where I need them to support the material, and start cutting. He doesn't have to cut down my material. Now, I have not cut like one large word continuously out of one piece of material just because I haven't had a need to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Me
I
neither.
wish my roller was that
Not
light.
yet.
Not yet, but soon.
Okay, I found that thing, and I'll put a link in the chat, and I'll pop it up on the screen real quick. Can you see that? Oh wait, I have to pick it again. Give me just a second here. I don't know why it makes me choose the screen every single time.
You got 12 of them. It can't predict.
Yeah, well, no, I just got 6, and I need, so that's it. It's like $9 on CloudRay. It's on. They knocked $1 off, but see, it just connects via Ethernet cable
What
from
does
the
the
back.
dial do?
That's to adjust the so
Output
you can
current.
adjust the current remotely, but we don't need to do that because ours are calibrated. We don't really want to
Yeah.
monkey with it,
Right.
So, and then there's a little, we weren't going to talk about the switch. There's a little tiny switch in here. And if it's left, that little knob won't do anything, and neither will the pot on the screen on the power supply. And we do that for a reason. You'll see a lot of people, and some of these people that build lasers, in some of those groups especially, is they'll take a screwdriver and adjust the pot of the power supply to get the current rating right. But the problem with that is if they need to buy another power supply, now they're going to have to do the same thing to it. If we do it through software and leave all of the equipment tuned stock, that means we don't ever have to calibrate that power supply because our config file is where we do it. So that's kind of the approach we take with it. But
Well, I can say this: if you're going to buy it from CloudRay. Do not buy it from Amazon.
yeah, well, they have a CloudRay Amazon who's the same. It comes from the kind of the same place too. But these
It's
guys are fast.
$25 on Amazon.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, CloudRay used to have, and it depends on what you're looking for, because a lot of it's coming straight out of China now. But if they have it in their London warehouse or their U.S. warehouse, whatever, it'll show at the bottom, and you can choose which warehouse you want it to come from. So if you're in the U.S. and they have them in the U.S., you can choose the U.S. store, to help.
CloudRay could be charging $20 in shipping, so that would make it $29 instead
Maybe.
of
Well,
$9.
Amazon's the convenience store of the internet, though, right? So you're going to pay for that convenience. So yeah, absolutely. But anyway, that's a neat. If you do want to monitor, and I have that on mine for that exact reason, because I do so much testing and pulsing and that kind of thing, just looking for other people's problems, that it's neat to have a heads-up display. But I just don't want everybody to get the idea, because in the generic world, that's the first thing you got to do if you don't have one, is put a meter on, and you got to constantly stare at it to make sure you don't blow up your tube, right? So it's not quite like that on these, but yeah, that's a neat little thing. So anyway, sorry, didn't mean to get off track. Back to the topic of the day. Chris,
Yes.
I don't think pass-through's gonna fly.
Right. So I guess part of it, people talk about the hardware side, and nobody mentioned it here about limitations, because nobody was probably doing anything over 0.8 of an inch or whatever. But it comes up every now and then where somebody's got an
You
odd
mean
shaped
the
object.
thickness?
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
gonna go out
Yeah,
the back, so
I
you can
was
make it
going to mention
underneath
it,
that.
but I think, the pass-through's only so large, so I didn't mention it
It'll
just
either
because
fit or
it's
it
been a
won't.
huge point. Yeah,
Well,
fit or it won't, exactly.
even with staying under the required height limits, right, of the 0.88, I think it is, or maybe 0.8,
Yeah.
in order to get the focus on your 2-inch lens, you may have to adjust the stop ring on it to get your 6mm focus if you're doing like an in-grade.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that pops up from time to time when users are trying to do the pass-through. So that's part of it. So if you use autofocus and you do that, you then have to go back and recalibrate that little stop ring so that you get your 6mm back. But sometimes it's odd shaped objects. People are trying to snake in there and stuff like that. Some people talk about trying to go below the top deck, so kind of like not passing through the back, but dropping everything down and trying to use the 4-inch lens, doing some odd things like that. I didn't know people had some stories or anything to tell about the pass through, but it's a useful feature. I've seen
Now,
some other makers have 4-way pass through, but I don't kind of understand why you want to pass through left to right. Maybe that's how your shop's set up, but
Yeah,
We
Really?
used it on our other machine.
Yeah.
when you only have a 1420 bed,
yeah, but you're
So-
passing through on the narrow side though, right? Because you're
so it's from left to right. When I do a sword holder, they're narrow and long. So when
Okay.
I want to get to the center of it or get to the left, right side, we've literally slid it through right and left, and I've stood there and held it. The only issue for the Thunder that we've run into is that support bar that goes across the front.
Didn't
Uh,
you
It's
cut
cra-
it out?
Ask CeeLo what he did to his.
Was that
Cut it?
you? That
He
I
cut
watched
it
that
in the video, in the review.
Oh,
But
I
I
don't
like
remember
it.
seeing
It's
that
gone.
one.
I like it. Officially, I can't
It's gone.
endorse that, but yeah.
but see, that's really not the pass through. That's just, you're using the front, because the back of the machine, you don't have that option to knock a hole. I mean, I guess plasma
yeah, but
fiber you do.
I can pass through 3/4 of an inch, correct?
Yeah.
Well,
On the
Yeah.
deck, you can do like
So-
0.8 or 0.88 inches,
I
something
think
like that.
0.8.
we run into the problem when I'm trying to pass through, say, I think it was 1/4 of an inch. That
It was
bar,
thicker material,
or
yeah.
it was one thicker material. We couldn't get it down low enough to get it, with the
Oh.
to get a good focal.
When
If you're
you
not going to stick it all the way out the back, yeah, then it can be a real problem.
when you wanted to 4-inch lens. And
Yeah, because
our
we were doing
4-inch
thick.
Our 4-inch lens is one of those permanent mount from American Photonics. So it's
Uh-huh.
like the tube on it is like this long. It can get in the way and be problematic sometimes.
But even with smaller stuff,
yeah, that's
trying
nice.
to
Yes, yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
trying to get it, just at times that cross
Yeah.
support bar has gotten in the way, and
Mhm.
I'm not brazen enough yet to do that.
Neat
Maybe
idea
it's
though.
Warranty.
Now, this is the 4-inch lens. Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
There's a trick where you can, because the actual lens is mounted in here, and that's just like the 2-inch lens. There's no difference in this part, except for the length of this barrel here, a little bit. So on the 4-inch lens and the 2-inch lens, the actual lens is mounted in this section, not this one. So if you take this away and put that nozzle back on, you got a 2-inch lens. But you can put your 4-inch lens in it and gain that much more clearance. You see what I mean? So you can put something really thick in there, like Chris is doing. You can set your 4-inch lens up like that. You'll have to recalculate your focus. It's not going to be 10 millimeters anymore. It's going to be 10 millimeters plus whatever the distance it is from here to here. See what I mean? So you have to do a little napkin math to make up the focus.
That's
But
not
you can-
hard then.
You gain almost 2 inches of clearance by taking that loose, or 1.5 inches, or
That's what
however
she
much
said.
it was.
Now, with that as well, your air is no longer really functioning at that point, because you're
Right.
2.5 inches above the surface. So keep that in mind too.
Well,
Yeah.
it's still functioning to keep stuff off your lens though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
but
not
from a
cutting
cutting-
you with cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even with the AP lens, I've run it like this. If I have to get inside of something like a tray table
Oh yeah.
where I have high sides, I just take this off. I'll zip tie my air nozzle on there, so I still have flame mitigation. But yeah, I mean, you have that much area that's gone.
That's where that enhancer or the Odin comes into play real cool, because the Odin delivers
Yeah.
the air, from the side as opposed to through the nozzle. So yeah, and you could run one of these lenses without the nozzle and do. I've seen people do exactly the same thing. Just take their air hose and just rubber band it or tape it around there. Just let it blow down there.
Okay, so I want to make sure that I understood, and then again, anybody else that watches this can understand, since I'm a little slow. If I look for if I have to replace my 2-inch lens, all I got to do is order whatever the little lens, it's the glass or plastic or crystal.
Right.
I can do the same thing for the 4-inch.
Yes.
Just order that specific part.
That lens, and keep track of which one is which, because you can't tell if you held them in your hands and looked at them. You would not be able to tell the difference.
Right.
Okay.
And they're very much different.
we would be extremely screwed. That's for sure. But some of the stuff that she wants to start doing
Maybe.
potentially is, bowls or things of that nature. So trying to get in.
The other option would be to just buy one of our 4-inch lenses and use it in this manner and just keep it dedicated for that, so you're not taking your junk apart all the time.
And that's what it may come down to.
Now,
it doing that.
Now, yeah. Now I know we're on the hard work. Go ahead, Chris, since you're still on the training funnel.
If you start doing bowls and stuff, there's a setting where when you're finished with your job, the laser head will just sit at the last part that it ever fired the laser dot. It just sits there and does not return to a home, does not return to an origin, less likelihood of crashing. With that, do not leave it in that mode when you go to do a rotary job. You will not like the results if you're doing more than one side on the rotary job. Well, something gets messed up with the origin and it'll frame properly and it'll look right. Then you'll hit the start button and it does this like extra little index move. I don't know why, because that setting is the return setting, not the actual run setting. But
Weird.
that's the anomaly that I've seen. But it's great for when you're doing those odd shaped things. You're just like, you know what? I don't want this laser going anywhere. Just stop when you're done and I'll manually lower down, jog around, and take my workpiece out.
Okay.
That's in your machine settings.
Well, and it comes down to, I mean, we're preparing for when you are done with the other one so that we can, because now getting rid of this little bitty thing is going to make our life so much better. We can do more and expand and explore.
Mm-hmm. And your designs will be the same. You won't have to flip them to use them on the other one.
We'll need to go there.
I'm already going through files that I've never run on the 130 and flipping them in preparation. Even if I'm not going to run it, I'm just doing it ahead of time when I have time. Yeah.
So it's something that I heard that's come across a couple times, and it's more of a pre-sales thing. If you're talking about the pass-through, we've had quite a few people want to get the smallest machine they can. And so they'll look at the 24 and they'll say, okay, I can do something approximately 24 inches. And my rounds that I use are actually 26, but I can make it worth, I'll just use the pass-through. If all you do all day long is make 26-inch rounds, don't get a 24-inch machine. If that's all you do all day long, at least get a 35, because you won't have to fight that at all. So if you're talking about pass-through, you're looking at it from that aspect, that's something that I've seen, because the answer is when they say, can I do something 26 inches in there, 30? Yes, the answer is yes. And then they go, oh, goody, the thing that I make 90 of a day, I can do, and imagine doing the pass through, and print and cut 90 times a day, so.
At that point, you're going to have to set up a nice jig.
Yeah.
I mean, it's doable, right? But jigs will be your best friend where you can base things around.
Yep.
Yeah. And I love the tool layers in Lightburn, because you can actually make your jig, create it, and then just turn it to a tool layer and you've got it there and you can just create right on top of it with your normal layers.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. So with that, does anybody have the little L-shaped cutout attached to their honeycomb? Speaking of jigs and rails, the Odin kind of has a little bit like a fence.
You talking about those?
Look at that.
No, permanently attached ones that you cut with the laser. So basically you attach a piece of 1/4-inch MDF or something, and then you cut out basically very small millimeter step over an L shape.
My honeycomb is not square to the gantry.
And this is where you cut it with the gantry. So you mend it to it, not magnetic.
You lay a piece in the corner and then cut the maximum extent on X and Y. And that's actually true with the gantry, because you actually cut that corner out and then it just stays. And see, that comes back. My ULS, had a metal, framing square. That's what I call it, in the corner, and you just lined everything up to it. And I think, that if you're going to do mass production, the repeatability, you almost need that.
Yeah.
And basically, and have it permanently affixed to the honeycomb, either bolted through or something, so that it stays.
Well, or you could use some pins and pin it into the honeycomb. It'll still stay in the same position. And then you could always take it out and maybe put a Sharpie mark and know where to put it back.
Yeah, be pretty close.
That's why we did the little ones, because she'll rotate.
Great.
1 minute she's cutting something that's this big or engraving something that's this big. The next minute it's or sticking a whole sheet of plywood in it. So for us, these little squares with the pins are just, because I can put 2 or 3 of them on this. You can put a crap ton on the 130, and then just do one after the other. So that's why we use those. Her boss, I permanently affixed a framing square, and then squared the framing square based on the gantry so that she had a positive corner every single time.
Nice.
And that's where we went from there.
And you can actually build all your jigs off of that, and that way you never have to guess anything. Slap the jig up
Yep.
and you're in the same spot. Boom, boom, boom. No matter if you're doing lighters or dog tags or pins or whatever.
And some of the boxes that she does, there's no square on it. So they've got complete rounded sides, and then rounded edges. And it, when you talk about having to put that in a corner,
Oh yeah.
That's
That could be a
where
little hard.
the camera may help you out. Take a picture, trace it, cut a pocket jig out of a square piece of material, and now you've got something that's repeatable to where you can always line your graphics up to the same spot.
and she's got it done that all we've got to do is throw it in and it fits right square every single time, and it's repeatable. Because she does 10 of these at a time.
Nice.
We get orders for 10 or more, and then she's always got changing the graphics on them.
Mm-hmm.
You hear people use like cardboard. I don't know if they're getting cardboard sheets or just from like Amazon boxes, and use those to make a lot of jigs too. That seems to be pretty handy.
Yeah.
Have something wrong.
Oh, he just got in
done
trouble.
that. I've used cardboard to make jigs a lot because it just anytime you're doing a bunch of things. So like I was doing dog tags for my son's band, for them to sell as merch, and so I just did I wasn't doing a bunch of them at a time, but I was doing like 6 at a time, I think. And so I do the front and the back, and I would just flip them as I went from one slot to the next, and I mean, they came out perfect, and having that jig saved me so much time. I wouldn't do it any other way. Camera or no camera, I still would have used a jig.
Yeah. If you have all the jigs and have them all set up for your workflows, that you don't even need to think about the camera. Now, and I'm a big proponent of the camera. I really am. But in those kinds of instances where you're doing that repeatability stuff, definitely that's the way to go. So.
I still got to put my new head-mounted one together. Just haven't got around to it yet.
I haven't played with it to see if it even works, to tell you the truth. The first time I went through the thing, it wigged out on me, and I had to go in there and change some of the code. So I haven't messed with it since.
I'm hoping it works because it was a cheap investment.
My big thing is it'll be more accurate than the overhead camera for sure. But and it'll be more like that Ruida Vision, that machine vision they have with that big old CCD, that whole halo light and all that extra, which that's a lot of money, and a new specific controller, so this software is awesome for this, and I'm sure it'll be better. But what I want to be able to do, and I don't know how easy you can, is to switch between the two without having to recalibrate every time. That's going to be I want to use my head mount this time. I want to use my overhead this time. That's going to be the decision maker for me on how I go forward.
I don't think you can yet.
Why would you revert back?
Why?
Because
maybe some instances. What if I want to capture something? Yeah. It's slow. It's got to go back and scan the area. You got to draw an outline around it, and it'll scan that area.
It's not a single photo. It's
and if you had an urn or you had something in there, it's so much easier to trace or whatever. You just throw it in there and get a snapshot of it, than to scan it in.
I could see that.
But
hey, look, you might have some new users. Yeah, just because you can, right?
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah. We got maybe some new users, Kevin and Luke.
All right. Yeah, definitely.
Maybe.
This will be the time. We didn't do it earlier. So if you guys have any questions or anything, if you're just joining us or new, we'll sit here and talk about all kinds of things. So, kick your mic on, tell us to be quiet, and we'll let you have the floor.
Or just even introduce yourselves.
Absolutely. Feel free to jump in anytime.
I just haven't been.
Oh, hey, Kevin. How you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Awesome.
Good.
So,
Yeah, I've been here too. I've been a lurk every now and then, just hop in.
Okay.
And you literally said that exactly the moment that I signed in. So
We didn't mean to put you on the spot. So
Yes, you did.
we'll just go back to talking our nonsense. So we don't just anybody stop us.
Brian.
How you doing, Yeah, go ahead, man.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Getting back to the focusing and stuff, for the overhead camera, when you print up those dots, when you put them on the bed, are they supposed to be flat laying on the bed to the edges, or kind of like angled at a 45 or a 30 or whatever?
The best thing to do with those dots as soon as you print them is to wad them up and throw them in the trash. We've got a
Tell us how
preset.
you really feel about it, Brian.
Yeah, man, that'll make you bang your head on the concrete. So the positioning matters. If you're going to do the full calibration, you can't just lay it on the bed. If you have a Nova 24, which is what is in some of the documentation or on the online wizard, the pictures that you see, you might notice that he has it sitting on a box, and that just happened to be the right distance from the camera, and his bed size worked really well for that. If you got a 51 or a 63 or even a 35 and you try to just take a box or whatever, a bucket, believe me, I've tried all kinds of things, and just set that piece of paper on top of it and think you're just going to go around the corners, that ain't happening. You have to hold it in exactly the right position and keep holding it and moving it around until you get the best number you can get, and then you move to the next one. But we've done all, it's in a preset now, so you just pick the preset and move on.
And Lightburn also recommends covering your entire honeycomb because it will confuse the dot matrix.
Yeah, it sees the honeycomb as dots, and it'll crash any computer. I don't care what it is. It'll lock it right up. So if you ever try to do that and you haven't covered the bed first, you won't get anywhere. And again, you'll be banging your head on the concrete. So we recommend use the preset.
Yeah, don't bang your head because it hurts.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I have a 35, there's some sort of a preset in there.
Correct.
A W85 or W95.
Yeah, once you pick the camera, there'll be there'll be do full calibration, or there'll be pick a preset, and it's the 85-degree preset. So.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, we do have a doctor's little eye chart too that you can print out. It's in another article, and you can use that to set the actual manual focus of the camera, because it's, just like any other lens, you've got to get it where it's going to read a sharp image. So it goes over, talks about like turning off the lights and doing all this other stuff, trying to get that eye chart as crisp as you can before you go through the procedure of calibrating your camera. The idea is once you lock that camera in place, do that update overlay and click the 4 circles, you don't want to touch that mount anymore. So if you're up there again turning the lens, you might be moving it. So it's a good little test.
I think I've got it pulled up here. But yeah, you definitely want to focus the camera, and that's different than focusing the bed in conjunction with the camera, but there's that. I can put a link to that up there too. And I figured out something. I thought that the links weren't available when we were putting these in the chat. If you go and click that link to this when I get it published on YouTube, you'll be able to go back and look at all of the links and all the public chats. It is in some of that transcript stuff. So we actually can go back and look for these things.
Nice.
And I download all of it and store it, because they'll only store it for a year. So I've got it, all the master backups, but I just don't usually tell anybody because I don't want like 20 people a week going, hey, can you look up what that link was in this, 20 minutes in on the thing. I don't have time to go through all of them and see, but they're published. So cool. So we kind of got off pass through a little, but we touched on some good stuff. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Oh, nice. He's playing with his chroma key. So.
Yeah, I gotta figure out how to do that still.
What's that, Travis?
Said I gotta figure out how to do that part still.
Oh. So.
Chroma key? That's easy.
Okay, so here's something. I'm gonna do it, Chris. I'm gonna put that 200 lens on this Aurora and go through all of the autofocusing and the calibrations and getting it set up for a totally new lens. And I'm going to record it all, and hopefully I don't have to bleep too much of it out.
Oh, hey, Brian.
Yeah.
So I saw that video you did of the business card the other day. Was that already warped before you put it in there, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It wasn't. Those are the thick ones. It wasn't warping while it was in there.
Okay.
It was bent.
If it's warping while it's in there, you need to change your settings on so it does one side, then the other, then comes back, and to keep the heat down.
Yeah, no, I think those are those 0.4 or 0.0. They're the thick ones.
Yeah,
they're really
super thin
thick,
ones.
Really.
How the heck did you bend one of those?
I was trying to bend them the other way, and because I'll grab them 10 at a time, and I don't know.
Gotcha.
I wasn't trying to, fold them or anything. I don't know what I was doing with it.
He had it in his wallet.
He's a fidgeter, is what he's saying.
I'm a fidgeter.
No, I'm going to go with, he had it in his
fidgeter.
wallet. I can see Brian having one of those George Costanza wallets.
Yeah.
I would prefer not. Actually, I have a Ren and Stimpy wallet.
Well, the George Costanza is because he had like 20 years of receipts, and he actually had back problems because he sat funny.
Oh yeah, I don't.
Here, I've had since I've been 18 years old.
Yeah, I can't hold on to wallets that long. I end up losing
It's
them.
just amazing that leather wallet has held up that many years.
Well, good leather wallets will last a lifetime. So, I mean, I've had this one probably 10, 12 years now. So, and it's still
Okay,
doing
so to turn this into a laser conversation, who's made a leather wallet on their laser? Anybody?
I have.
Travis.
Yep.
CeeLo.
Cool. Do you need a template for one? I can send you one.
I wouldn't mind it. I'm going to Tandy Leather this weekend to pick up some leather and play with it.
So don't make the very first one that I made. The wallet ended up about this thick by itself.
Okay.
You don't need nearly as thick of leather as you think you do for wallets.
Fair.
So message me your email address and I'll shoot you over a simple wallet that's easy to get started with.
Okay.
So what thickness of leather do you recommend for that then?
2.
2.
Yeah, a 2 ounce.
I can't remember what I've got.
If you can find actually my favorite one for wallets, because I do fabric insides on them, is like if I can find like a 1.2 or 1.3 ounce. It's amazing because especially if you can get it as a calf skin, it'll be super soft, really easy to work with. The hardest part about wallets, I mean, now I've got my big mechanical stitcher, so I don't have to hand stitch them anymore. But when you're hand stitching, just getting the stitch pattern down is what takes the most amount of time.
I was thinking about buying one of those $100 Amazon stitchers, the manual ones.
That's what I started with. Do a YouTube search on it. When you buy those for $100, you can spend about another, I think it's like another $50-$60 and turn it into an electric one with a foot pedal.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and that's what I did with mine. Actually, I just sold mine here about a month ago. That was all converted over to electric when I went to my big commercial one. But yeah, no, dude, it was a little workhorse. I mean,
they are. I hear that you got to kind of tweak them when you first get them, but once you get them dialed in, they're dialed in.
So the one that I think I spent $130 on mine, and it came almost perfectly dialed in. The only thing that I really had to do is when I pulled off the bell housing or the little thing with the grooves in it.
Yeah.
When I pulled that out to mount my pulley adapter onto it, I went ahead and sanded down all the edges and got rid of all the burrs, and it made a huge difference on it.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's the one thing I would recommend doing when you get one of those: sand down the edges, get rid of the burrs.
And then I've heard the bases on them, you just throw them away and you build something. Is that what you
they're
did?
absolute trash. Yeah,
Okay.
don't even worry about the base. Just build something brand new.
Okay.
All right. Well, I got nothing.
Did anyone else get carried away on Amazon Prime days like I did?
No, I didn't have any money.
I don't think I even got on there
I didn't.
I didn't
during
even look.
during that
I was
period.
afraid to look. I was afraid I'd spend money. So
My
The
cart was empty until I watched Laser Everything's Prime days recommendations. Then my cart was full.
Really? Did you get a bunch of good stuff?
Yeah, I got a backup PC. He recommended the ThinkPad refurbished. He's never had a problem with them. So far, I haven't had a problem with them, but it's a whole lot cheaper. And just stuff I needed, like some of the rulers and stuff for the fiber measuring focus.
Cool.
Yeah,
What'd you pay
the
for the
calipers that they
PC?
had on Prime were really
It was
nice.
500.
I just use a little brick
Oh, and I
PC that
bought
Brian
a
recommended.
Orcher Pro 2 was on a discount.
How's that little pocket, that card, how's that little micro thing doing? Chris? Decent?
Oh, I love it. Oh yeah, it's running both my machines and the EasyCAD 3 for the fiber. It does great. I mean, it's fast, it's solid state, it's everything you need it to do. I got a TV hooked up to it and I remote desktop to it, and I can set my air conditioning with my EasyCAD 3 connect to the fiber with the dongle and program it without having to sweat in my garage. So I love it.
Nice.
I was thinking about buying another one for my printer. I got this stupid Roland printer. If you're ever looking at EcoSolvent printers, y'all don't buy Roland. It's USB, and if your computer does an update, goes to sleep, you take it off the dock, whatever. If it loses communications, the job is screwed because it has to feed the data live. And I was thinking about getting one for that thing, so it has a dedicated computer, and it's about $140, so it's not bad.
Yeah.
Is that a Linux or
Windows 10. Because
Yeah.
the Roland requires Windows. They don't dabble in that Mac stuff or Linux.
Oh, here we go. I know what the next 15 minutes is going to be about.
Hey, I already said Roland's not
it
great.
depends on if Lois heard or not.
They got a customer.
She must not have.
Yeah, they
I
got
made
a
the
customer.
mistake the other night. I was done for the night, but I wanted to send a print job to it, so I printed it, and then I closed the lid on my laptop, and I walked away cussing because it was halfway through the job and just done.
Yeah.
So all that
I'm
wasted
going to share
time.
this with Travis since he maybe didn't see it. I think the link's in the chat. We're building a glossary, dude. I haven't seen one anywhere like really put together, not at not on a laser site. So
I should really just give you the master copy of my ebook to put up there. Because it really goes into a lot of definition of it.
I don't know. Just starting it. I think the link's in there though. Well, we got about 15 more minutes. What is the last 15 minutes supposed to consist of? More questions.
Ooh, Q&A time.
Or Q&A or whatever. What you got?
Look what I made. I did some inlays.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Is
Did you dial in your curve offset, or did you just keep adjusting the graphics?
No, it's dialed in the curve offset.
Nice.
I'm like
how'd you figure it?
0.01, I think.
Did you just
typically
dial it in manually, or did you use a?
No, I got the calipers out and measured a dot.
Gotcha.
Is that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Sometimes
got
it might
them.
make too much sense.
There's actually hey Brian, do you have the curve offset file, the test file for it?
Yeah, well, there's that one on O2 Creative. I don't have one on our site, but there's that generator on that New Zealand site. You know that.
Yeah, Yeah,
I
no,
can
that's
pull
what
it
I was
up.
talking
Oh
about.
yeah.
I just didn't know if
Yeah,
if
you
you
know they
needed a copy
have
of the
like a
file
1, 2,
or
3,
not.
4, 5, and you just put them together and see which one's
Yep.
fit. And you go, oh, there it is. Yeah, I've
Yep.
never tried
Yeah.
those. See, I don't do any of this stuff. I know what it is, but I don't ever
Yeah.
do any of it.
You should really put a link to that on the website because it is.
Yeah,
That's
it's
honestly
in
It
there
is
that's
in
how I
good.
the
set
Yeah.
my
materials
curve.
test thing. It's just in an obscure. You know, everything we got's obscure. You got to go look for it, but
Yeah.
it's in there in one place. So.
I know one of the topics we could do in one of these weeks.
There's a form for that, Jim.
Oh,
Nope.
shit.
Well, there is really, but yeah. Go ahead.
How to properly run and vent your laser without
Yeah.
having 90 feet before the fan bent in 15 different directions and 90 feet after the fan bent in 19 different directions and go, why do I have smoke?
Yeah, we could do it on air assist.
No, not air assist.
I mean, on
But
exhaust.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that needs to be done heavily because that seems to be one of the
You know, that's
questions.
almost like going back to starting at the beginning of the manual.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like,
I
you know,
mean,
and to get people to
what?
understand
There's not
what
much
goes
to
out,
say about it though, Jim. I mean,
but
Wait,
you got people
what are
that
you gonna
don't
say about
understand.
exhaust? Keep it short in the front and long in the back, and don't put a lot of bends in it. There, we talked about it.
But it's, yeah,
I mean,
but
There's
people seem
what else is there to say?
well, there's at least two more
It's
things.
exhaust.
Makeup air. You got to have
yes,
makeup air.
yes, and where to
Well,
vent it
And
and how to vent it, and don't vent it out an end that's going to suck right back in your soffit.
there
That
you
you wonder
go.
why you got smell in your shop or your workshop.
now,
The questions that I've had to answer over time
Okay.
that have been just what we would consider elementary that people don't understand. They're coming from either nothing or a glow fart, and they
Yeah.
don't understand exactly how to exhaust something that's moving, making that much more smoke or moving that much more air.
Yep. You know, I
so
will say though, I am a little bit disappointed in a few of you. I messaged a few of you so we could mess with Brian. I only got a couple to do it.
Yeah, I know.
I don't care if you mess with me. So that you do bring up a good point, though. Do we need to make some additions for makeup air? Is there a section for makeup air in our document? I mean, because we do
Well,
have an article about it.
scroll up where it says intake air. What does that say?
Oh yeah,
And
that
see,
does
and
say.
well, what I've seen is people talk about like they're in a room,
Mhm.
and because these people have put them in their bedroom or an upstairs room, and they are exhausting them out a window,
Mhm.
and then they work in that room and they close the door. Well, where the hell's your
And it,
makeup air? Where's your then you tell them to open up a window, and what they're thinking is, oh, wait a minute, I got the bottom crack, so I'll just open the top.
and it pulls it right back in.
So you're sucking. I've seen it. I've had to answer people. I've tried to be nice, and I'm sitting there going, "What?" I just want to beat my head against the wall sometimes, but it's just stop and think.
Well,
Well,
remember too, though, Jim, that not everybody owns their house, even if they bought a laser, right? So not everybody can put a hole in their wall.
No, I'm just talking about it. But if you stick it out your window and you're in that room, don't open that window back up on the top because you're going to have makeup. This is the whole makeup air side of things. You're going to have
No,
to open up
I
the window
know,
in another
I know
in another
what you're saying.
in another
but
bedroom.
So
the air
maybe
exchange,
if we had a theory of operations and an overview of how the exhaust system works, it's going to suck air from
yeah,
somewhere. Here is where it's going to pull it from. It's got to go out
right.
somewhere. This is where it's gonna be, and actually talk about how the systems function, and then the
Yeah.
common sense will kick in because you'll have a good idea of how the systems
Mm.
work, and then I think all that stuff will just kind of click.
And I
So
forget who
yeah, I
it
mean,
was that was in this group
So that would be a
before.
good like PowerPoint demonstration to do.
They had
yeah,
their
or something.
laser that they was going to
Yeah.
exhaust in a room that was close to a water heater.
Hmm.
And then my
A
first
gas water
question
heater.
was, do you have a pilot light? If you're going to exhaust in a room
Right.
next to a pilot light, you're going to cause a downdraft in your exhaust for your furnace and for your water heater.
Carbon monoxide poisoning.
So
Yeah.
that was my biggest concern because that's my industry was HVAC for years. So I mean, the first thing I think of is, oh my God, yeah, don't do that.
Oh, that reminds me. I have that in there. Do not connect exhaust output of this laser to any existing exhaust systems. Consult a qualified HVAC or industrial mechanical professional. I need to put that in bigger letters. It's in normal text. That might be a good one to modify a little bit in there. And we do go through and mess with these documents. You know, we got a big list of ones that aren't even made yet. And we have a bunch of stuff that needs to be done on the ones that already are. And then
That's once again, I'm sorry. This is where I was heading. With if someone's exhausting it, and they say that they've got their
Sorry, Sam.
their
That wasn't for you.
they're on a one-story house, their slab home, and if they have their laser in an extra bedroom, and they're using that window to exhaust, and they don't have anything else opened up in their house, it's going to pull through the furnace or through you're going to start pulling downdrafts, and this is where my worries and concerns are of why I said exhaust, because I've just seen so many people doing stuff, and we're heading towards winter.
Yeah.
Well, and Brian, so Brian, I just threw an Amazon link in there. You know, just food for thought. Maybe something that you guys could look at doing is, as an add-on for the lasers, sell a window kit. So if they want to exhaust,
you can get one right here on Amazon for $25. Why would I want to do all that?
Well, or put a link to it and say, you know, hey, or whatever. But I see so many people have all these jinky, you know, attachments, but what happens is smoke goes out their window and it rolls right back in the top side of their window because that's still wide open.
Yeah.
So, you know,
we can with my laser.
What's that?
But cut it with your laser, is what you said, I think.
Yeah. I think that, but yeah, I mean, we can have links to this in here. Like I said, we can add all kinds of things to those.
Literally,
to those things.
ventilation probably needs to be literally on its own page just for.
So, who here has mobile machines? I know Tommy and Louis going to have 2. CeeLo's got 2. Mad Moose, you probably got multiples, right? Exhausting.
Like
10, maybe 12. That's another advanced topic too, because we've had customers with their old Glowforges that they're still venting with their fan setup. They're like, why does it smell like smoke? I've got this, like, well, you're pushing air right back through your other machine when it's not running, or when they're both running, they're fighting each other. So, you know, fan placement matters there too. You want to suck from both machines through a proper Y, not a hard T, because Bernoulli would smack you for that and all that good stuff.
Or they're using their 4. Isn't the glow thingies, aren't their exhaust 4-inch as well? And
yeah, they're tiny.
I've seen people that take their exhaust ports they've made up for their things, and then they hook a Thunder to it, and then they're bottlenecking down from a 6 or 8-inch hose into that 4, thinking it's fine. Well, then you got the back. You got your back restrictions.
And that is one thing that we've seen reproduced over and over again. You can get away with a whole lot of stuff on these exhaust systems, but if you neck it down to 4 inches, even in one place, it will not perform. It just will not. Yeah.
How can you're just building back pressure at that point?
Hey, Brian, maybe that's what we can do next week if you want, is we can just, you know, take the first 15, 20 minutes or whatever, come up with lists of, you know, when we all started, what problems did we encounter? And we'll, you know, that way we can do kind of a Q&A thing for you to put up on the Thunder page on, you know, common things that, you know, all of us encounter. I know
the most common things. Yeah. Well, see, if my theory behind how we write these articles is right, where like if 10 people need to know the answer and we write an article, then theoretically that entire repository of data would be that short list. But you're right. The usual suspects is an example of distilling some of that, you know, and getting it into, you know, that's the distilled cheat sheet. Basically, if I tell everybody, if they have a grasp or a basic understanding of the usual suspects in that preparing for your hour training thing, then they can drive it like they stole it.
Hey, Travis, do your T's do this?
No.
Should be a sloping Y.
Those are my T's.
He said he has hard T's.
They do.
Or do they do this?
They deadhead into the plenum.
No, so my T's.
That.
Yeah, they do that. So, and then the fan is the very last thing in the line, and then I've got individual dampers on each single one,
Okay,
on
so
each
okay,
downspout.
so you have restricted them because they say like your suction across here. You know, you like your garden. Well, maybe not in Alaska,
Yep.
but you have a garden sprayer. How it sucks air. That one right there is going to have more just by the velocity of the air moving this way. But if you got dampers and stuff and you've kind of measured, you're probably good.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, you can kind of see.
theoretically,
Yeah,
should
and
I
you've
use
got a
little
massive
damper
duct.
lever up there. Yeah.
Okay.
So my system here,
You got a
most
massive duct
people
anyway,
I don't
so it's not-
expect to do this. My system here was fully engineered. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
And
Like you got
theoretically,
20
they
inch
shouldn't be
ductwork or
T's.
something.
They should be a slight bend to them coming into that T anyways, because that does restrict and slow down airflow. If you want to be
Well,
technical.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
technically,
if you got
yes,
a
but
12
when you're going
Whoa.
from a
venom,
yeah, so my small one is a 6, my two big ones are 8s, and it's going to a 12-inch duct main. There's not a whole lot of restriction there.
I'm just messing
And
with
if you put a big enough fan on it, right? I mean, get to see
Yeah,
it
I put a 4-inch fan on it.
You got one of those like 120 millimeter
of
PC case
Vivo
fans or
Sun.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we put an S12 Infinity AC on it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, and it's funny because for the makeup air, I don't know if you can see right back here, that was their solution for my makeup air. Oh, you need a hole in your wall this size. So they went ahead and cut that. And then after, I'm like, I always have my door open. I'm in a 8,500 square foot space. I'm like, I don't need the hole going to my warehouse.
Well, you could pass drinks and stuff through there or something.
Well,
Ooh, that's a good
unfortunately, on
idea.
the other side of that is my dark room for exposing screens for screen printing. So I'm like, oh, that's good. Let's have all this light from the laser room leak into my dark room. That's great, guys. Thanks.
Made sense to the HVAC guy. He was happy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. It's 3:56. Wow. We made it through another episode. That's good. So,
Hey Brian, did you get those 3 other pictures I sent? I wanted to ask everybody if that's the way they do it, because I can build an article on the pass through and how to set up and use that.
where did you send me pictures?
Ring.
Oh, in Ring.
Yeah,
no,
is
he-
that-
it should be 3.
He sent it to your Facebook Messenger.
oh, I see. I mean, is that what you want to do? You can do whatever you want with those. What do you want to do with them?
I want to know how else other people do that, but everybody got off on a tangent, so I let that go.
I just send the mermaid video from YouTube.
So we could pick this back up next week and look at your illustrations. Is that what you want? Is that what you're after?
Yeah, I just
We
kind of want to
guarded
know.
your
I know
pass-through
that.
time after you prepared for it, didn't we?
I want to know if there's other ways that is more efficient for people, and I can edit the documentation off of that.
I gotcha. Oh, so you want to present those or whatever? Are you all
We
gonna?
could do it next time, and we only have 3 minutes left, so.
Oh,
fine.
well, there's that whole after party thing that they
Yeah, we
do.
got some more.
Yeah. Well, before we end the main
Yeah.
session, is there anyone else here that wants that leather wallet pattern to try out?
Aye, sure, why not?
All right. Message me your
Yeah,
email.
I saw
address so
your
I can,
wallet, Sam. That looked horrible.
I know. And I have 2 brand new cloth wallets that I refuse to use.
The
God,
cloth.
remember
this is-
remember the
so
remember the
this
80s.
wallet, the wallet pattern I sent to Brian, it's the same one I'll send you, but when I sent it to Brian, it's not the easiest wallet to make in the world, but it's fairly easy to make, and it's probably the most common wallet that we make here. So it's just a standard bifold with 3 pockets on one side.
So you want me to email you something to the shop?
No, just send me a private message with your email in it really quick so I can copy and paste it.
Does anybody remember the
I
nylon
said.
or whatever they were